This year will undoubtedly be a fantastic one for PC gamers, but if your anticipated release is still a long way off, why not play some of the best single-player PC games in the meantime? After all, many of us appreciate private gaming sessions. I'm going to tell you about the 20 best single-player games, so that you can fully immerse yourself in the world and enjoy every inch of the gameplay. The protagonist is Chai, a self-proclaimed future rock star. Due to an unfortunate accident, his heart fuses with a music player, drawing the attention of an evil mechanical megacorp. Chai soon finds allies willing to help him in his battle against the corporate machines and the mad executives controlling them, who consider Chai a defect. You have to face hordes of enemies and powerful bosses, while being constantly graded by the game. Style matters just as much as your efficiency in combat. The main character of the game is Alan Wake, a popular author of best-selling novels, who in search of inspiration goes on holiday with his wife to the picturesque town of Bright Falls, located in the American state of Washington. After the mysterious disappearance of his beloved during their holiday, he becomes involved in a series of supernatural events that cause him to lose touch with reality as he knows it. LEGO Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga contains the stories known from 9 full-length Star Wars movies, starting with the fate of Anakin Skywalker in the times of the Old Republic, through Luke Skywalker's battle with the Empire, and ending with Rey's journey. However, it is not a faithful adaptation. In accordance with the tradition of games with LEGO in the title, the events are presented in a tongue-in-cheek manner, enriching the story with a large dose of humor. You return to the dark universe of Warhammer. After visiting the old world and the lands to the west of it, the latest installment of the sub-series takes you to the border of dimensions, where the warriors of Kislev and the Empire of Great Cathay guard the way to the kingdom ruled by the 4 gods of chaos. An ancient power wants to take advantage of the tension in this troubled region, seeking to gain supreme power. However, to do so, this entity will have to find a champion among the inhabitants of the mortal world. The action of Ghostwire Tokyo takes place in the alternative version of Japan's capital city. As a result of a mysterious occult event, the majority of the city's population has disappeared. As if that wasn't enough, ghosts called visitors started wandering the streets in search of victims and members of a mysterious group who hide their identities behind traditional Hanya masks. The game takes place on a detailed map observed from bird's eye view, covering a vast portion of the world, stretching from Spain through Scandinavia to India and Central Africa. Your primary goal is to expand the sphere of influence of your family. Although declaring war and achieving military victories over other rulers can be an effective tactic, it is often better to use the art of diplomacy and enter into beneficial alliances or arrange marriages between your dynasty and others. The story presented in Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order takes place shortly after the events of the 3rd episode. You take on the role of young Cal Kestis, a former Padawan who has to hide his past from the soldiers of the Galactic Empire, efficiently following the order of the 66th Emperor Palpatine to kill all Jedi Knights. Trying to avoid attracting attention, Cal travels to the Outer Rim, the planet of Bracca, where he finds a job in the Junkies Guild that dismantles Republican ships used in Clone Wars. Age of Empires 4 is set in the Middle Ages. Each of the 4 story campaigns presents events taking place over hundreds of years. An example is the campaign dedicated to the Normans, which begins with the Battle of Hastings in 1066 and ends with the signing of the Great Charter of Freedom in 1215. There are also various historical figures present during the game as stronger units. It is worth noting that the title was created with VR technology in mind. Half-Life Alyx takes place between the first and second parts of the Half-Life series. You take on the role of the title character Alex Vance, who together with her father conducts research on the weaknesses of the Combine, a powerful group of aliens controlling the Earth since the Black Mesa incident, trying to give humanity a chance to defeat the occupants. The game is mostly focused on narrative. It takes place in a fictional world that combines a modern setting with fantasy traits and retro-futuristic technologies. You take on the role of a miserable law enforcer who is a bad policeman and an even worse human being. He receives an opportunity to work on a case that can either drag him all the way to the bottom or give him a shot at redemption. The authors of this game presented a grotesque vision of the world in an undefined future. The story revolves around deadly weather phenomena, especially rain, which in this world has extraordinary properties. Everything that is wetted by rain, known as timefall, is displaced in time. This means an extreme acceleration of the aging process in all living organisms, including even plants. The story told in the game largely focuses on showing the relationship between life and death. Persona 5 Royal is a new version of the popular and award-winning JRPG that debuted on PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4. Persona 5 is the next installment in the series, which was conceived back in the 1990s as a spin-off of the Shin Megami Tensei series, which now includes dozens of games for many different hardware platforms. All of them are invariably produced by the Japanese studio Atlus, which has been owned by Sega since 2013. Assassin's Creed Valhalla takes place in the 9th century in Northern Europe. The protagonist is Eivor, the leader of a Viking clan. Interestingly, not only can you choose whether they're male or female, but you can also let the animus switch between both versions at specific moments, which is also the canon option. After leaving war-torn Norway and crossing the North Sea, the protagonist and his people arrive at the English coast. To make England their new home and to secure their place in Valhalla, Eivor and his warriors must take up arms. In Ori and the Will of the Wisps, you once again assume the role of the titular Ori. This time around, the young ghost goes outside the Nibel forest to discover his true destiny. Although the exotic world holds many threats for him, there are also allies who are happy to lend a helping hand. Yakuza 7: Whereabouts of Light and Darkness is an action game and the next installment of the popular Yakuza series. This time, instead of going to Tokyo, you go to Yokohama, where you take control of the new protagonist, Ishiben Kasuga. The game takes place in 2019, when the protagonist leaves prison, where he spent 18 years for the crimes committed by his boss. Having been released, he returns to his hometown, where he is betrayed by his former companions. Cities Skylines is a classic representative of the city builder strategy genre. Your goal is to build an efficiently functioning city while maintaining its financial stability. You start on an area of 4 square kilometers. Over time, it can be expanded to a maximum of 36 square kilometers, and have to build roads, place residential, commercial, and industrial zones, design public transport routes, and keep people happy. More elements related to city management are unlocked gradually as the population grows. The protagonist of Life is Strange Remastered is Max Caulfield, a photography enthusiast who arrives in the small Oregon town of Arcadia Bay, where she starts her education at Blackwell Academy. It's not long before she discovers she can manipulate time and rekindles an old friendship with Chloe Price. The girls decide to solve the mystery of the disappearance of another student, Rachel Amber, while also uncovering the many dark secrets of Arcadia Bay. Outer Wilds is a first-person adventure game in which you play as a new recruit in the new space program, Outer Wilds Ventures. Your task is to study a constantly changing solar system functioning in a time loop. There are many mysteries in the game, the most important of which is whether or not the loop can be broken. The game also features other plot threads, involving, for example, mysterious ruins on one of the moons. The protagonist of Psychonauts 2 is a young telepath named Rasputin, for friends Ras, who specializes in trips into other people's minds, as was the case in the first installment. After the events of the last part, he managed to achieve recognition from the titular organization, which brings together people with psychic talents, and had been invited to its headquarters. However, he soon discovers that the group is in serious trouble, and that the duty of rescuing them lies on his shoulders. The Outer Worlds takes place in a retro-futuristic universe. You play as a spacecraft crewman awakened from hibernation, who was sent to Halcyon, the Earth's colony located on the outskirts of the galaxy. As it soon turns out, the days of the institution may be numbered. The protagonist encounters a trace of a conspiracy directed against it. This is my list of the best single-player games. If you have something to add, feel free to leave any comments here. If you liked this video, share it with your friends and subscribe to my channel.